What do you need? Ask away. Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells. You could call it that, sure. The Chantry doesn't look on it the same way, however, since really our talents only work on mages. Against a regular person, I'm just a guy in a metal suit. Perhaps, but there usually isn't much of an opportunity. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, well, I'm sure you can put two and two together. Well, they do it, and they feel perfectly justified. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templars' talents more effective, or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me.
Why are we stopping? There are Darkspawn to be fought. Is this delay needful? I am Qunari. I have given my word to aid you. We are not people of idle promises. No. People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of, the elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty. I am. I have always fought in war, elf. My people have been at war since the moment we set foot in the Northern Islands. Words fail when your opponent's native language is deceit. I do not see how this matters. Seheron and Parvolan are distant. Ferelden and the Darkspawn are immediate. As you wish.
What do you wish of me? If you must. Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I? Beg pardon then while I jump for joy. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness. Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for. Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested. Who cares? As I recall, he was executed. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting? Do not speak to me of trivialities. Your culture is not so entirely different. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes, how to eat at a table, how to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again. Yes, here I am. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
Yes? Well, here I am. I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell, and the darkness drew me in. I suppose I did. That was what the darkness was, no? When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rose bush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith. In my dream, I fell, or maybe I jumped. I'd do anything to stop the blight. I know that we can do it. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the blight devours everything? He's still here. I hear him in the wind and the waves. I feel him in the sunlight that warms my skin. I know what the Chantry says about the Maker, and what should I believe? What I feel in my heart, or what others tell me? They said my ideas were blasphemy. But is it so bad if what I believe gives me comfort? If it could give someone else comfort? I know what I know, and no one will ever make that untrue. Yes? Well, here I am. What is meant by someone like me? And there were no beautiful, charming women in the cloisters, you think? You would be wrong. There were many lovely young initiates in the Lothering cloister, all of them chaste and virtuous. It added to their mystique, because then they were forbidden, and forbidden fruit is the sweeter, no? My fruit? Well, it is not technically forbidden, but it's not freely given either. Not everyone gets a bite. I can't believe I'm having this conversation. But no, I did not take vows. The Chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed. I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on.
Ah, it's good to see you, my timely rescuer. Bodon Fennick at your service once again. I saw your camp and thought to myself, what safer place to rest for the evening than in the camp of a Grey Warden? I'm perfectly willing to offer you a fine discount for the inconvenience of our presence. How does that sound? Good? Yes? Wonderful. Thank the gentleman, won't you, boy?
Thank you, sir.
We won't be a bother to you and your companions, I assure you. If you should need enchantments, simply talk to my boy. Otherwise, come speak with me.
Hello.
The boy's a bit simple, but he's rather good with enchantments. One of those tranquil fellas actually called him what was it now? A savant. I had no idea such a thing existed. He can fold lyrium into almost any weapon or piece of armor, though naturally some of the more extravagant materials will take more lyrium than others. It's a process that some of the master smiths back in Orzammar will perform, but my boy here is just as adept at it. Isn't that right, boy?
Enchantment!
And there you have it. Oh, certainly, I can do that for you. Just come with me.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
If there's anything I can do for you, please, please tell me. I've heard a lot of stories of bands of darkspawn roaming the countryside far north of the Kokori Wilds. They just seem to appear out of nowhere and disappear just as fast. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is. I hear that Tyr Loghain, the regent, is calling for new levies of troops. He wants to rebuild the army we lost at Astagar. Thing is, there's not a lot of spare men to be found. Out of Dragon's Peak, there's press gangs roaming around, grabbing any free man they can lay their hands on. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is. Of course. Good fortune to you and yours.
Goodbye.
Oh, how dear of you. Thank you so much. Why, thank you so much.
Blast it.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
Magic exists to serve man and never to rule over him. Foul and corrupt are they who have taken his gift and turned it against his children.
They shall be named Maleficar, accursed ones. They shall find no rest in this world or beyond.
I was getting to that part. The one who repents, who has faith unshaken by the darkness of the world, and roasts not, nor gloats over the misfortunes of the weak, but takes delight in the Maker's law and creations.
Boasts. It's boasts, sister, not roasts.
She shall know the peace of the Maker's benediction. The light shall lead her safely through the paths of this world and into the next.
Peace, sister, peace. She shall know the peace of the Maker's benediction.
The veil holds no uncertainty for her, and she will know no fear of death, for the Maker shall be her beacon and her shield, her foundation and her...
There's no veal in the chant. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you?
Me too. I wonder why nobody ever taught me her version of the chant when I was a Templar.
Oh, hello, dear. Can we help you?
What she means is, in Andraste's name, be welcome.
Stop correcting me! What would Andraste do? That's what you should be concerned with, I say. Andraste was no fuss budget. Praying for the good people of Denerim who've lost loved ones at Ostagar. It's usual to recite a stanza from Transfigurations when you pray for the departed.
It's usual to recite the stanza correctly.
But that's what I said. Tell you about the chart? What? As if it's a cake you might buy? Well, it's done enough, but a little too much nutmeg for my taste.
Sister, instructing the ignorant is a sacred duty of the chantry.
Fine, then. What do you want to know? It's the 10th stanza from the Transfigurations. Lovely canticle, that one. Oh, you should have heard Brother Caedmon sing it, though. He had a voice like a bucket full of toads. Revered Mother Boann, bless her heart, always said, if we had more voices like his, the Maker couldn't fail to take note of us. It was tragic, really. Such a surprise.
We don't speak of that.
He was in charge of the Lyrium storehouse. It wasn't good for him, you see. He took off all his clothes in the middle of the chant one summer day and ran into the street. He tripped and fell into the vat of elderberry wine for the feast and drowned. We were 6 days drying him out for his cremation. He looked like a pickled egg. So tragic. Oh, there are some very stirring canticles about doom and wrath.
Darkspawn were created by mankind's second sin, pride. Arrogance became a great caged beast in the lands of Tevinter, an emptiness that consumed all and could never be filled. To satisfy its hunger, the mage lords assaulted the Golden City, heart of all creation, to take the Maker's power for themselves.
Why does no one ever sing the good stanzas during chantry services anymore? They speak them. It's called the chant of light, not the speech of light.
Sister, would you kindly stop messing up the chant?
See how you like being interrupted.
Well, you get the general idea, I'm sure.
Yes and no, dear.
The official version of the chant does not speak of the elves. Some of the dissonant verses, however, do mention the disciple Shartan. He was an elven disciple of the prophet. A former slave like Andraste herself, he rallied his people against the Imperium. He was given to the flames alongside Our Lady. Divine Renata had the verses removed during the Exalted March on the Dales. Of course. The official chant of light is written in Tevinter, but it is translated into the languages of the believers. Some ideas are lost in the process of translation, and words take on unintended meanings. There's a dreadful pun in the Orlesian version in the Canticle of Threnodies, and languages are always changing. The chant must adapt if it is to be understood by the people hearing it. The chant has changed over time. Some of the verses that were sung in the past were taken out. The Canticles of Shartan were stricken from the chant in the Glory Age. They are no longer sung, though scholars still sometimes read them.
It is almost mealtime, isn't it?
Blessings of the Maker and of Andraste, his bride, upon you.
The deep dark before dawn's first light seems eternal, but know that the sun always rises.
Magic exists to serve man and never to rule over him. Foul and corrupt are they who have taken his and
Strange that matters can be so tumultuous and yet the day still be so bright.
Oh, my pardon. Just thinking aloud. Are you here for the Chanter's Board? I am Sister Justine, curator of the reliquary of this chantry. And pride again. It is hard to live up to the example of Andraste. The archivist tends the books, and I tend the sacred relics. I also search for more to add to our collection, which is more difficult than it sounds. My thought exactly. But I'm perpetually amazed at how quickly people accept fantastic claims at face value. A hawker on the street will claim to have an actual finger bone of Andraste. In this city alone, you could make the skeleton of 10 prophets from fingers alone. Curators often accept them as genuine. I worry about the authenticity of even our most holy artifacts. When I was a curator of a much smaller chantry in Orlais, I thought that false relics slipped through because of laziness. But the life of the cloth is never an easy one, and that explanation always seemed hollow to me. Now I believe it's the seduction of the divine. We all want a personal connection to the Maker. We want to believe that what we hold in our hands is the actual sandal that slipped from Andraste's foot before the fires consumed her. Faith is of the heart, not of the head. When the heart is ungoverned by reason, charlatans have powerful tools to deceive. And often close to heretical. But I believe that the truth only increases the awe of the Maker and his prophet, not demean it. Even false symbols have the power to inspire, but it seems every year we fall more out of touch with the real Andraste. Well, there's one that might be real. I couldn't prove it wasn't. Perhaps you can understand my skepticism. So many claims, so few truths. Certainly, my research indicates that all of the ashes were gathered into a pot or urn, but it's been lost for centuries. That doesn't stop hawkers from selling pinches of the ashes of Andraste to gullible pilgrims. The real ashes may still be hidden somewhere, though it's possible the urn broke. You've shown admirable patience listening to my diatribe before. I will not bore you again. Suffice it to say, I look for and authenticate holy relics for the chantry. Of course, enjoy your visit to the chantry.
They shall be named Maleficar, accursed ones. They shall find no rest in this world or beyond.
In the name of Andraste, bride of the Maker, be welcome in this house. While the cathedral is closed, if you need to make wedding or funeral arrangements, you'll have to talk to Sister Olma.
Did someone die? I remember a funeral.
King Kalen died, remember? Along with most of the army at Ostagar? Maker guide them all.
That which you fear, living in the shadow of death alone, I have seen it is only a cloud passing before the sun.
The death toll at Ostagar was staggering. We've had a funeral every day for a lost son or daughter of Denerim, and we've many more yet to hold.
Are they singing the chant now? It's a funeral, isn't it?
He should have retired to Val Royeaux years ago, but he wanted to stay and serve the remainder of his days in his homeland. It's the Lyrium that does this. He wouldn't be a Templar anymore.
Blessed are they who stand before the corrupt and the wicked and do not falter.
He doesn't forget who he is, even if he can't remember anything else. May the light of the Maker guide your steps.
All men are the work of our Maker's hand, from the lowest slave to the highest.
You here to report another crime? I swear we should just cordon off the entire district. Oh, can I help you, Warden? What? You're serious? I mean, yes, I could use help. I've got a pretty popular, establishment that's crawling with mercenaries. If I send my boys in, someone might get, Maker forbid, hurt, and I'll have to explain to their noble fathers that being a guard is actually dangerous. The name of the whorehouse is the Pearl. Beat down any mercenaries that are out of line and send them a message. I said beat down, not kill. Let me make that really clear. Not on fire, or exploded, or make a nose, whatever type of grisly death you can dream up. Sorry. Used to giving orders to my boys. Just leave them breathing and I'll be happy. Thank you, Warden. Happy hunting.
Leave me to my business.
You're the Grey Warden, aren't you? Exactly who I was hoping to meet. I represent a collective of mages interested in going about their lives without the constant scrutiny of the Chantry. The collective is a self-policing guild of mages who simply want to be left alone. We mean no offense to the Chantry, but we would rather live on our own terms. Next to me, and in every major settlement, you will find an inconspicuous sack containing requests from mages all over the land who need the assistance of someone skillful and discreet. Thank you, my friend. We have agents in every major settlement to reward you for work done on behalf of the collective. Make us smile upon you.
As there is but one world, one life, one death, there is but one God, and He is our Maker.
So, this thing you and him have going,
Good day.
doesn't that violate your vows?
What? What kind of question is that to just blurt out? What do we have going?
Yes, I'm that blind. I so totally did not see you ogling each other before.
He was not ogling me, was he? Was he really ogling me?
Now that you say it, I'm not sure. Maybe he wasn't ogling you. I don't know. I could always ask him.
You can't do that. Could you? You couldn't do that.
I could, but I won't. Next thing you'll have me pulling his hair and passing him love letters.
Just mind your own business. How inappropriate.